think I sharded myself?
If you smell like a really consistent lingering garbagey scent, we can't confirm that I didn't indeed shard myself in rage. Oh man! Let this episode. I don't know what number this is, but let this episode of Parodius go down in history as the quintessential Game Grumps episode, where you got so grumpy you shit farted yourself. You know what? That makes me happy because it makes me feel like you and I have a connection that we both.
That's so grumpy.
It's over. I can't on the charade anymore. This is the worst game ever made. I don't know. I'm kind of getting into it. Ever made. Well, wait. Oh, yeah, dude. I cleared it with 0 seconds.
Like the tomato?
All right.
If you want to.
No.
Fucking kill myself. All right, so.
I offered.
Okay.
Dude, we've only got 30 or 40 more levels.
Look, crazy,
Well, I still have to play all the game. Wait, I'm number 4 out of 8. Okay,
oh, you missed some shit, man. Oh, you haven't? Okay. It's amazing. Holy shit. It's been amazing. Nobody, you can do it. He can't do it. No one can do it.
How are you going to get the fucking eyeball time?
One more shot. Oh, okay. With Ross is magic. This is the Ross shot. This is the one. Ross. No! I hit it! I hit it!
Thank you. I like my bacon flat. That's what I want to get. A bacon iron.
Oh, that is such legit rage. Go up. What the? Come on, I wanted the coin. We don't need that one, Ross. Are there any girls named Ross? Probably. Rosalind? Yeah. Oh, sure. That's her name. I just need that. Rosalind? Yeah. Like Jocelyn. Yeah, it's true. No, I've heard Rosalind. If today Israel decides to stop their military actions, that's all right. We'll leave you for good. No more kidding. People who applauded me ever. You understand that we have seen the biggest human crime right until the front of our 6 months. And there's a walk away from it. No accountability. There's there'll be no consequence whatsoever. As long as you have the power, the weapons, the support of the Western world, the support of America, you can do whatever you want. And you will be able to corrupt the West morning after you. So you cannot come with a straight face action about morality or about human rights. That's the music club. Hi, Joe. How are you? Okay? I'm great. Good. I thought this was Joe Rogan. I don't know. I'm sorry at this point. This is going to be a podcast with Joe. Joe Rogan. Just recently discussed. Yeah. I know it's Joe Rogan as well. Yeah. I've got a little bit of that. Take that. I don't think. I also have less. Probably my favorite with him. Yeah. I haven't got the $100 million Spotify deal just yet. I mean, if anyone's out there considering it, I mean, we'll take it. He has a full there after all. Yeah, exactly.
I did my best.
Very good. For those who don't know who you were, why don't you tell us who you are, what you do? How do you introduce yourself? Oh, very quickly. I used to be a heart surgeon. Yeah, my life. You should have been school. Yes, I have to brag about that. Yeah, I have to brag. I used to be a heart surgeon. I used to be a heart surgeon. Yeah. And then after 18 years of medical school and working as a surgeon, I left all of that during the wake of the Arab Spring. I had my own show, political satire show, kind of like the Egyptian version of the DJ show with Jon Stewart. I was in 3.5 years. I had 3 seasons. I went into trouble because of my show. I was arrested and interrogated, had to leave. The military, the Islamists hated me both, so that means I'm doing something right. And then I had to escape. I went to America, and 5 years ago I started a new career at the age of 45 doing stand-up comedy in my second language in English, and now I am having a European tour in English, starting with London, April 6th, doing 16 CDs, 25 shows in 30 days. It's impressive, man. I mean, that's a good intro. Yeah, it's good. We worked on it. Yeah, absolutely. We don't plug the tour, so we can see how much we get under Orlando. So, I mean, we'll talk about comedy. I particularly actually want to talk about comedy in the context as well, and the kind of the politics of what's happening at the moment. But just a word on performing in a second language. At the beginning, it was very daunting. Still today, because at the end of the day, you don't have that kind of foundation all of your life with that language. So you're not a master of the language. You think you are, but at least you try to act as if you are. But deep inside, you know that it's not your language. And me coming from the background of being a doctor, being a nerd, so there's a lot of studying, a lot of imitating, a lot of rehearsing, a lot of pretending to look like as if I know what I'm doing. And also coming in a second language is very interesting because each language has its own rhythm, own music, own sense of delivery. So, and this is something you cannot teach. You just have to acquire it, and I have to do that very quickly in order to, because I was very starting late, so I didn't have the luxury of time and doing it for years and years and years and practicing with it. So yeah, it is quite tough. I mean, even between Americans and British people, the sense of humor is completely different. Cultural touchstones completely different. Absolutely. The nature of the comedy is completely different. So imagine I'm doing a stand-up comedy with my second language in English while actually being in America, and then getting that set up with in Europe, talking to people that might not even be British, that might be British from other origins. So you see how everything is not. Yeah. It's you almost to fail. Yeah, not going to. But, yes, it's very tense. I'm doing a comedy in a language that's not mine, in a second language, American style, in England, and many of the people who come to my show are not from British origin, but from somewhere else in the world. It is.
Good see.
The easiest one because again they speak English. But if you go into people, and many of the people who come to my shows are immigrants. They imagine going to Sweden, or to Denmark, or to Germany. English there is a third language. So that is quite a challenge. Have you tried to scan it back the other way and do comedy? Because I imagine even if you were trying to jokes, you couldn't just translate them. The sense of humor would go really different. I started doing an Arab stand-up comedy a year ago. After the English, I tell you what, the English is much more easier. Stop it. Yeah.
What?
Really? Because when you speak to
Arab stand-up comedy.
English is actually quite
I was wondering if I wanted to go to this one.
come to the show, they relate to you.
Play one?
In Arabic,
Yeah.
I'm speaking to people from Arabic dialect, background. You just talked about like the British humor and the American humor. No, let's talk about the Moroccan dialect and the Saudi dialect or the Egyptian dialect. It has nothing to do with it. It's totally different. So you tool of communication, which is the language, is quite valuable. I'm not talking about the difference between a New York accent and an Alabama accent. I'm talking about the difference between someone who's living in Oklahoma and someone who's living in the deep parts of Scotland or Wales. That is how valuable and how diverse the Arab language is. It's not just a case of accent, it's vocabulary, it's about references, experiences, all of that has to be taken into account. So Arabic is actually much more difficult. Okay. Well, we're going to talk about the role of comedy, I think, and particularly actually as well the role of comedy in politics over the course of this interview. One of the things that I'll be honest, sort of, I think for lots of British people, you sort of first came onto their radar culturally as a result of interviews with Liz Morgan, right? Yes. In the wake of October 7th. Yeah. So, can you talk to me about why you wanted to do that interview? I mean, it was sort of, like I said, 10 days after October 7th happens. Was it to do with sort of media narratives, presenting a counter sort of viewpoint? Why was it that you wanted to go and speak to this? Well, I didn't want to. I was actually offered to come on to Liz Morgan show 5 days. He said no twice. And for the third time, I said yes. And then they canceled me quite a few times because they were having other people go revenge. But it actually, I should have been on that show a week before, and I couldn't because I didn't know what to say because the media narrative was set up in a way that like you're gonna be burned anything other than this really want to. But then 10 days in, I saw the narrative and I saw that like, the lies were so obvious and being like looking at different outlets, like something is not checking out, something is not working. And the little research and I see the lies and the stuff that they were using in order to justify killing so many people were just crazy, like, oh, Israel is the only military in the world that wants civilians before they go. I was like, what kind of excuse? The same thing that they say about the Israelis, that the Israelis army is the most moral army in the world because they are a army. Which is and it's like you can write a whole like routine about that. They use biodegradable, so it's reusable body bags. Very nice. Sustainable missiles. It's like
Reusable body bags.
I think they're serious though. Like they're actually saying that this is what they're doing. Don't worry about it. Like at least they're being environmentally friendly.
Yes. But then they bring in like an Arab condom from us. Are you serious? It's just like, and I saw all of this and I said like, wait. We're just talking about the cable does and so on. What about the West Bank where there's no Hamas? And I talk about this in many interviews. I talk about the banality of evil, how people are just accepting so many things, take it as normal. I mean, when I was on that interview, like we didn't even hit the 3,000 dead mark at the time. Now we're 33,000. And people have been so desensitized. And then, like, when I was there, we're talking about who won the Iraqi hospital. Is it Israel or is this fire by Hamas? Since then, Israel won 36 hospitals. And it is nothing. It is like, why? And because there's also this segregation. There's a Hamas So I just went there and said, like, how many people should we kill as many as we can? I went on one with everything that they said, and it just, people say, wait a minute, that's stupid. The thing that's very striking to me at the moment is the fact that international journalists are not allowed into Gaza right now, which is a revealing fact, right? If you go on, it's been for 6 months, and even the only one who's there was Al Jazeera, has been labeled by Israel as a terrorist organization. Okay, yes, of course, yes. Whatever you say. We'll talk about it. But why is this so emasculated when it comes to Israel? Yeah, what do they do? Where do their goals go? Where they let their old and their fiery opening statements about Russia and Ukraine, but when it comes to Israel, of course, it's really interesting. The first, because I think that's what you're talking about, it's not time, and you sort of said the really the talking points, but you didn't even think that you were something like an incredible performance, right? The talking points that you were talking about actually were the things that but it's just not represented in the Western media. So you didn't feel like it was like some crazy thing you'd done, it was like 20 million views or whatever. But that contrast with Ukraine, I think, is revealing, right? Because I think either our morality is universal, and you can take issue with military aggression, regardless of who victims of it are. Or your morality is universal. Yeah, listen, I mean, the thing is, the quiet part that you said out loud, that people don't care about this, and they look at them and say, listen, forget it, forget Hamas, forget the proportionate response. In the West Bank, since 7th of October, 495 people killed, 100 of children in the West Bank. And that is normal, because we have been so desensitized by the 33,000 people who cares about them. See how the mentality of how people get used to it, and it becomes like a regular thing. We will look at it's the hostage. No, what, 70 hostages, 30 hostages? What are 130 hostages? Well, in Israeli prisons there are 5,000 Palestinians. Half of them are not even accused of anything. That's 5,000 hostages. 5,000. People just accept it and go on. Nobody talks about it because these are hostages. You go in and you kidnap people from other people's homes and you put it in your prisons. That's not a prison. That's a hostage. When you displace more than 1,200 people from their homes on a daily basis, that's not normal. But yet people just accept it. Palestinian farmers cannot actually get any part of the land to agriculture outside of the region, which is the most fertile part of the West Bank. And Palestinians cannot have the land there anyway. They have to go and even dig for oil. And dig for oil first in the West Bank. I'm not talking about Gaza because Gaza is evil, it's Hamas. Dig a well and even increase the level of oil. The Israelis had about 5 times the amount of water per capita than Palestine. And people just have to live about it.
I think it's wrong.
It's just like it's the normalcy and the people just getting desensitized with things that if 100
like Rhea?
6 months
What did Rhea do?
people will be like,
And like literally she'll come up with anything. Like I literally believe her. I'm like, I know you do that. I'm not stupid. I know you do them. But for some reason, when she told me, I was like, yeah, okay. And like, at one point I was like, no, like the person I saw Rhea, like, oh, and she read it yeah, it was my first day back. First day back to home with Faye's house. Here was the bathroom, and I walked in this place, I was like, girl on the floor. So I just see that nothing's changed. I was just like, should you check that she's still alive? And he's like, yeah, no, she's fine. Okay. So like when I asked her if she did drugs, she's like, oh, I do drugs. Like, okay, neither do I. Because as far as people know, I don't.
How Israel defines terrorism. 2010.
That's when you want to share with people.
Husband who were killed. And then a few years later, she published that the Facebook post is like, may God unite us in heaven. And because of that post, she was accused of being a terrorist and she was put after detention in a prison for 8 months. This is how they define who's a terrorist. Because today, 7 people died from the international centrifugation. First, okay, it's Hamas. It's like, oh, it's us, but oops, mistakes happen. Well, it's us. What can you do? Collateral damage. You see, so it doesn't, the whole idea that they waste so much time trying to waste this time in this like mental exercise that doesn't need anywhere, and even when it's okay, you do it. Yeah? But don't Israel have the right to defend itself? See how this circle, the conversation gets, you don't get anywhere with it. There's no historical context, right? Because I feel like there's essentially a system of provocation, essentially, the point you make is essentially get a reaction either from the mass or from other groups, whoever it is. Yeah. And as a result of which, when we discuss and talk about, the most recent example is just all about October 7th, right? But that kind of unitary approach to the history of it. You need of the context of decades of whether it's oppression, violence, terrorism from both sides. And don't say you cannot compare an arsenal that's armed to the teeth. You know, it's a nuclear power, and you just like a few militants. You cannot just it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
I find it crazy that he said that. He was like the Holocaust. It took at least some time for people to realize what was happening and for like the truth to be like, oh shit, a bunch of people are dying. This is literally happening on live television. And they're like, well.
So if you throw rocks, they break your limbs. If you take up armed resistance, you're a terrorist. If you sit put in your home, they will come in and use settlers to kick you out.
It's like I'm an alcoholic. Okay, I'm gonna guess I'm an alcoholic now.
If you are not even living in Palestine and you choose to boycott Israeli goods, you are not going to be able to work with 37 federal states.
And that's why Canada and America still hasn't said anything.
Weird that like South
other than we don't think there should be a ceasefire.
Israel.
Or like, okay, we went to have a decide whether or not this is like ethically or morally like acceptable.
This is all the reaction. They keep pushing you. As a matter of fact,
and they
I
said,
don't even know.
collect some data for the next like month, and we'll come back to it.
There's a very famous interview by Ibn Barak in 2014 when Gideon Levy did a reported heart. He asked him, if you were more Palestinian, what would you do? And what Barak said, like, I would join a terrorist group to fight for my country. And you have all of this in front of them, and all that about Hamas. You have like Netanyahu admitting on tape that he was supporting Hamas and he was like letting money flow to them. It's just, it is right in front of you, and they have the audacity to deny it. It's like they look at you and I don't care. When I say both sides, I'm not drawing an equivalence between the actions from either side. I think it's clearly the power dynamic is asymmetrical, right? You know, you have on the one hand occupied people, and on the other you have one of the most high-grade militaries of anywhere in the world. What I mean, it's the longest occupation in the modern history. What I mean to say when I say both sides is that violence is exchanged. Yes, the scale of it is different, but there is certainly still violence that heads from the Palestinian direction towards the Israeli one. That's what I was referring to. Well, I mean, if you put me like against the wall, what do you expect me to do? I mean, you're killing me behind your walls. You're killing me with your drones behind your screens. You're sitting comfortably. You're using me as a video game, so you know, an X square and a certain boom. And then you're just like happy that I am putting my behind confined walls, and then at a certain point when the walls are breached, you are going to get face to face with what you have created, right? Because it's so easy to attack. Because yes, like a Palestinian taking a knife and going and killing you, that's terrorism. But if I fly in a $64 million F-16 and I go in like a missile and kill it, like annihilating a whole square, a whole like block, and that's not terrorism, that's war. I just like boom. Because there's comfort in being remote of killing all these people. So you're just like sitting there in your comfortable spaces and pushing buttons and killing all of these people. And when somebody comes in and push a bullet back, it's like, oh, terrorist.
What terrorist?
It doesn't waste our time in finding things. I was in France 24 the other day, and they were asking me, what do you think is this what Israel is like doing a genocide? Because there was no genocide in front of 2%. Like, well, who cares? Really, who cares? Who cares about the definition of genocide? And I'd say, it's like, how about like other words, like too much? A lot of murders. Extreme termination of life. Is that better?
Extreme termination of life.
More genocide bothering that bad? And then you know what? After you go in and you prove it's genocide. But so what? Israel has the right to defend itself. It's not ending. The thing is, you think you're going to win a conversation or it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, to do that. Remember how like for 2 months they were asking what's a proportionate responsibility? It's the most stupid question ever. Does Israel have the right to defend itself? Well, you know what? I think that Israel has the right to go fuck itself. Seriously. I mean, because it's fucked up.
So when I ask that question, I'm not trying to get into abstract conversations. I think it's useful because it demonstrates the wealth in which is
like, why hasn't nobody else said that?
It's a majority term to describe our enemies, rather than because the point you made, right, was if you drop a bomb on a school from a plane, you kill innocent people, and the difference between somebody who walks into a building with a bomb strapped to them and those that have killed innocent people, is there a material difference between those two things?
Yeah, because one of them is done by the chosen people. We are the chosen people. We are the chosen people. God chosen. And you know what really pisses me off about the Christians who repeat that bullshit? They're the chosen people. And I say, like, if you think they're the chosen people, why don't you join them? Why don't you join? Why don't you become Jewish? I mean, I said, would you feel unchosen?
Apparently, like the head of the fucking Ukrainian army. I'm like, yeah, the guy just flies around the fucking country doing press conferences, and he seems to be a lot less on the battlefield at war, a lot more like I don't know. everything else.
Judeo-Christian values. There's nothing called Judeo-Christian.
There's Fauci. That was like one of my first concerns when Fauci. I was like, why does he do doctor stuff? Like, I feel like he's constantly on fucking TV.
But it wasn't really part of our American culture. And the fact that they openly despise Christians, at least they openly make
Yeah, that's what I was told too.
That is talking about the Virgin Mary as a whore.
The Jews hate the Christians because they killed Jesus, and then the Christians hate the Jews because they said that their religion's not accurate, and Jews are the real religion. Oh, yeah.
It's like maybe now people are talking about it. Is it not full foul of the same problem though, right? That in the same way that in the West we kind of, particularly in the media and absolutely our politicians actually, they try to characterize Islam as being defined by its most extreme proponents, its fundamentalists, which I think is wrong. Like I dispute that to the strongest level. Similarly, to argue that extreme rabbis, but the most, extreme orthodox individuals, their version of Judaism is not the Judaism of, for example, sort of Western liberal Jews. And I don't know if it's fair to sort of characterize that entire faith based on. Absolutely, I agree with you, but isn't it weird that the same extreme rabbis are the head rabbis of the Israeli army? Is it like weird that like their words is being repeated by the prime minister themselves? When the prime minister talk about the Amalek, when you talk about the Amalek, you're basically giving permission to kill everybody, woman or child, there is because they're the Amalek, they need to be wiped out. Yeah. So it's the same way like you cannot judge the Arab world or the Muslim world by some extreme measures by the leaders of ISIS, right? But if the president of Egypt or the king of Jordan or the king of Saudi Arabia is starting to repeat that rhetoric, that's problematic, right? The whole idea about like, we need to kill the infidels, and if the president of Egypt starting to say that, that's problematic. Now, if the prime minister is not just that, is that members of his cabinet. I mean, we just talked about the example about like something Christians. Bin Kafir, he is the minister of
Did we finish the bread? Is that what happened?
Christians is not a hate crime, it's part of my faith. That is a minister.
No.
So I'm not picking on because you're picking on extreme the Christian side from the Jewish side, but I'm talking about people who are in position of no, I'm not just like picking random people from the thing. Because and also all of these things you might think it's fringe or controversial. It is not. There is a movie that I highly recommend. It's a documentary. There's two parts. It's on YouTube. It's called Pray for Armageddon. I really urge everybody, especially Americans, to watch it because they're talking about how the ideology of the Armageddon and the second coming of Jesus has been a huge part of American politics. I mean, you see the reporter asking people from the Congress, like Laura Morgan, which is like a right wing, she's like, she's from Colorado, and he asks about the rapture and saying, I'm just like, I believe that the things on this planet and this world that were created to honor the glory of God, and they are the United States of America and Israel. I'm going to work for both. I'm going to be for both. And then you have asking other people, like, don't you think that this is the whole thing about saying Jesus and rapture is extreme? So no, I don't think it is extreme. When Jesus comes, I'll be here waiting for him. So, and here's the problem. You have American politicians supporting Israel for that religious promise of apocalypse. And they believe that they did that, it's going to be like a 7 years of tribulation, it's going to be the end of war. And when that happens, then Jesus will come. And on the other side, the Jews believe the same thing. But the outcome is different because the Christians believe that all Jews will either be killed or converted. And the Jews believe that the one who's coming is not the second coming of Jesus, it's going to be the real Jesus, the real Messiah. Everyone will be enslaved by the Jews. You understand how stupid you know how stupid it is? And now they're talking about, they're openly talking about the red heifers. They brought like 5 cows from Texas. They paid $500,000 to fly them from Texas. That is more than all the money that I've ever spent on my life on plane ticket. They flew cows from Texas. And now they are going to turn 3 years old by the 10th of April, and they are going to have a ceremony by killing them, having a blood sacrifice, burning the bodies of the cows, and having Jewish people bathed in the water. So they're going to be purified.
Because he was like, oh, use yellow and green. I'm like, no, not green. Don't use green. Yellow and gold. Yeah, now I know. And I was like, fun fact, the reason that barns are red is from cow menstruation.
I was like, what the hell is this? You guys are even crazy. At least the people who talk about the end of days in Islam don't have nuclear weapons like you. At least the people who are back home are just like, all that they have, like maybe a little primitive bombs. But you have like the biggest nuclear arsenal and you're pushing for Armageddon right in front of everybody. And what is this? You understand? I understand. I came from the Middle East, secularism, separation of church and state, and then suddenly like, but you are going to be killed because you are on the wrong side of history, and Jesus is going to kill you. It's like, what the hell?
You're preaching to the converted, man.
I understand this. But you understand how crazy
I do, yeah. I do. What do you think the point of difference is, right, in the States? Comparing the States and Britain, right? I think in America there's much more of a political consensus, particularly when it comes to Israel, right? Particularly when it comes to Israel, I think you just outlined, and that evangelical tradition. And in the UK, whilst there is, parts of the media
But he
class,
loves you.
that alignment, there is, I would say, a more divergence around the thought, particularly with the political left that is willing to be critical of Israel in a way that the American left perhaps isn't. Is that just down to evangelicalism? Is there something different happening politically in America?
Evangelists, well, 80 million people in America are evangelists. That's a quarter of the population, so that's a huge mass.
Yeah.
And you know what is scary and crazy about it is that the Bible that they follow is the Schofield interpretation of the King James Bible. The Schofield interpretation was published last in the 19th century by University Press, Oxford University Press, and it has footnotes that interprets the text in a different way, and it is quite manipulated in order to kind of flip the narrative towards Israel. And there's a very famous joke. They say the Christian Bible is read from left to right. The Hebrew Bible is read from right to left. The Schofield Bible is read from bottom up because the footnotes controlled everything. So that actually found a huge, it resonated with the evangelicals in the South Baptist Church. And this is like people like, Virginia Fallow, John Hagee. John Hagee is the founder of Christian United for Christ. They have a $7 billion budget to affect the 20 years ahead. So the Congress, John Hagee gave $80 million from his own money, but this is Congress, leaving his congregation to Israel. And you find all of this. So part of it is religion. Huge part of it is money, because many of the Democrats are not even evangelical, but you have now AIPAC on their Twitter account bragging about all of their candidates that we have supported have won their primaries. So, isn't that a foreign agent? Isn't that a foreign agent? What is this? Yeah, I mean, remember 2016 when everybody said, "Oh my God, Russia is interfering and tampering, cybersecurity is tampering," and then you have AIPAC just opens like, yeah, if you support us, you can win the election with our money. Like, what? And people just look at it like, okay, that's right. And I was like, well, am I in a barely? What I'm seeing is madness. You understand? And also, yeah, okay, this one. And whether
everyone's just saying,
I don't understand
madness.
much of
Like,
politics. Like, I don't really understand why, nobody. But like, there's one thing that happened in the beginning.
Yay! Finally.
Rishi Sunak, the prime minister, when he went to Israel, he stayed
That's your house.
in the King David Hotel.
Welcome to my house.
By the Stern gang, a Zionist gang, killing 91,
What?
92 British soldiers. And Israel doesn't do anything. But
It does.
This is a humiliation. And if I was a British soldier, how come my prime minister goes in and stays in that hotel that were 92 British soldiers who killed Zionist gangs? And because of that, people like Isaac Shamir and all those people weren't even allowed into them because they were on the terrorist list for many years. And then he became a prime minister, so he had to bring immunity. So all of this, like, why do you accept that? How do you live with that?
Fussing.
As an outsider, I say, is this right? Am I the only one seeing this? Am I stupid? Or maybe I'm anti-Semitic, I don't know.
That's what I was talking to you about, what terrorism means, right? Because on the plaque outside the King David Hotel, it says something like, I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like, the brave freedom fighters of the Stern gang,
So powerful.
took action against the military.
Oh my God!
And it's like,
And Rishi Sunak stayed in that hotel.
but yeah, and then
I hope you're happy, Rishi. I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy, motherfucker.
Is it cuck? Is that something? But interestingly, the politics here has kind of changed a little bit, like it's shifting in Britain. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all, but particularly on the left wing in the Labour Party, we've gone from October 7th.
You think people don't like you? I spend a lot of time talking with Canadians right across the country. I spent time this morning with construction workers, talking about the work that they were doing, building new rental units for Canadians here in Toronto. I think there is a lot of frustration with the way the world is unfolding, and that frustration is being taken out on people in positions of power. I get that. That's part of my job. But my job is to stay focused on the solutions that people are going to need. We're both old enough to have seen a number of prime ministers, and I have never seen the sticker that I saw yesterday in downtown Toronto running through the city with F. Trudeau in the back of a pickup. Flags with your name and the middle finger raised. Yeah. Why don't people like you? There's a level of polarization and toxicity that we see in a very visible way on social media and also in real life, as you point out. But most Canadians remain thoughtful and open and decent, and yes, frustrated and worried about their future. But I also know Canadians are good people who are willing to work together to build that future, and I'm part of that.
he thinks, I guess, that the people who don't like him are fringe radicals, the statistical rounding error of Canadians who aren't in love with him. But the polls don't reflect that, and he doesn't have a clue. He exists in a bubble. There is a level of visceral.
Well, that's what I feel like
Justin
with
Trudeau
Christopher
that
Freeland,
I have not
honestly.
seen
Where I'm like,
in the modern
she has
Canadian
to
politics.
know
The left
how-
irrationally disliked
when
Stephen
she
Harper,
talks
but they didn't know
to
why they
people,
hated him. I
why
don't know if it
people
was his hair
might
because it looked like
not
it came from a
like
little
the way she
guy
talks to people.
or what.
Condescending.
Pretentious as fuck. Like, she talks to people like they're fucking toddlers that just
Oil
like
sands. Well,
got
what
caught
about
with their hand in a cookie jar, even though she's
Um,
constantly doing
because
fucking illegal shit.
they
with
never
their money.
actually knew why they didn't like Stephen Harper. But if you ask someone who dislikes Justin Trudeau,
Drop
they
that
will
in
give
your
you like a laundry
face,
list.
hole.
I hope you've got lots of time if you ask that question to somebody, because they'll say, the carbon tax, gun ban, affordability, how he treats peaceful protesters, censoring the internet, how he treats journalists,
Yeah.
how
Fuck, all my
he
movies on
treats
stream.
everyday Canadians who disagree with him, how he has no ability to self-reflect whatsoever, how he's allowed the Canadian government to become contaminated
Why did his
through
wife
foreign
left?
influence because it benefited him. He's made us a
What?
laughing stock. His
Isn't the site
anti-Americanism.
pretty good to
We
go
think that's
around on
gonna do for
that all
us
the time, right?
Trump's back in
Maybe
power,
it's something.
right?
Where you
A
said
tax on oil and gas, a tax on
Or,
Alberta, overstepping provincial autonomy, and the moral virtues signaling when it comes to LGBTQ nonsense issues. Anybody who dislikes Trudeau can give like a laundry list of things that they hate him for. But if, like for example, you ask somebody why they don't like Pierre Poilievre, and they'll say, his name has PP in it or whatever. Like it's just the dumb stuff. It's something you'd expect from a third grader. It's very unimpressive and shallow. But Trudeau has no clue. He just has no clue why his party is plummeting in the polls. And, the Liberals, God love them for it, they didn't turf them in time, and now there's no saving them. Which I love.
That was
At
a
least
very
in
evil,
Alberta,
maniacal
the
laugh.
UCP tossed out Jason Kenney with enough time to rebrand themselves, and there were enough of them that weren't politically contaminated by being Kenney henchmen that they could sort of piece the party back together and take it in a new direction with Danielle Smith. But the Liberals, they hitched their cart to this out of control horse, and it is running off the cliff, and they can't get out. Couldn't happen to a nicer bunch. There's no possible way that they could rebrand themselves. They couldn't get a leader from within, because who are they going to trot out? Right? Like, who's next? Freeland? She looks like she's at checking a rehab.
Fucking good
I don't know
idea.
what's going on with her. Who's next? Karina Gould? Yara Sachs?
You are so
Royally
evil.
screwed themselves, and I love it. They're going to have to romance Mark Carney because he doesn't have any of the baggage that the rest of the Liberal MPs have for playing a part in all of this decay of Canada. Let's keep going. Justin Trudeau on the issue of the carbon tax. As you know, Canadians were out rallying in the streets on April 1st because they can't afford to live. And Justin Trudeau is like, well, the best I can do is tampons in the men's room.
Ha!
Isn't that enough for you? So, anyway, they're out rallying in the streets all across the country. Young people are fleeing the party because they can't afford to live. Justin Trudeau is trying to tell you that don't worry because we're giving you these rebates, which is like a Ponzi scheme in the worst possible way. If you send this in the private sector, straight to jail. He wants us to believe that first of all, if you pay more for everything, the weather will get better.
Like, it'll be like,
Why don't we just throw a virgin into the volcano while we're at it with this Canadian nonsense? But also, if you pay more for everything, and he takes the extra money that you paid, cycles it through the hands of 1,000 bureaucrats who don't work for free and who make really hefty benefit packages, that somehow he will magically, by doing nothing and creating nothing, make that money worth more and then give it back to you in the form of a rebate. Cool pyramid scheme, bro. But anyway, Canadians are rallying in the streets, and Justin Trudeau is basically saying that they're just victims of disinformation at the hands of the Conservative Party who don't want to do anything to stop deadly climate change, which they keep telling me is coming, but I am not getting. It is snowing heavy upstairs, and we are the first week of April again. So let's go to this clip.
Right now, Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives have exactly zero solutions to propose for any of these challenges. They are not putting forward an alternative. They are recognizing and amplifying the frustration and anger people are feeling. But they are not providing solutions in any way, shape, or form for climate change, for affordability. He's right now blocking the doubling of the rural top-up that helps, I was going to say conservative, but rural Canadians across the country with a 20% increase, 20% top-up on the carbon.
That was a bad thing to
They're
say.
blocking it in the House because of ideology. They're blocking money from going to people in rural communities who often vote for them because of their opposition
Rural
and
communities.
their desire to play politics. Yeah, their opposition to a price on pollution that fights climate change and puts more money in people's pockets. So I'm going to focus on delivering for people. That's what I got elected for. That's what the commitment I made. And we took a very different choice in 2015 than the United States did in responding to the challenges that middle class is facing. They voted for a populist in Donald Trump. The Canadians voted for someone who's going to roll up their sleeves and deliver.
You rolled up his sleeves.
Oh, you waited for the private test.
I shouldn't laugh, but that's
I'm
literally all
bad
he did.
thing laugh to say.
Rolled up his sleeves. Like every time you see him and he wants to be like a normal person, rolls up his sleeves and then he's like Joe Normal. But he's definitely not. And he is basically admitting here that giving that rural top up is an attempt to convince conservative voters, he acknowledged that they were conservative voters, to vote for him. I'm a rural voter. I'm as rural as they come. I don't even have landlines into my house, and I live in a log cabin in the middle of a hayfield. Okay? I am as rural as they come. Let me tell you something, Justin Trudeau. Stick that 20% top up where the sun doesn't shine. We don't want it. We want you gone. You cannot buy us off. We're not stupid. You know, I've got a 15-minute round trip to get a jug of milk. Sometimes it's an hour.
What?
That's just how I live. And I'm not alone. The people who
50 minutes?
live far out of town.
Get milk.
Where heavy industry is, it's generally not in town. The people who bring you the energy, they work out of town. We, by and large, vote conservative, and we cannot be bought for 20% top up at the expense of our fellow citizens, by the way. You cannot buy us off to sell out the rest of our fellow Canadians. Might work in Toronto. I don't know, but it's not going to work out here. And I'm just joking. I know Toronto's turning on Justin Trudeau, and I'm very supportive of that.
Well, I guess it's probably like she used to probably get it at like a deafener or something. But like there's really no family businesses anymore unless like you basically are doing it as a service to your community. No profit anywhere. That's funky.
Rising. We have an absolutely horrible, no good, very bad, awful show for you today without any interesting news or commentary. April Fools.
Very nicely done, Rob.
April Fools.
Very nicely done, Robbie. Although sometimes you borderline start the show that way, but it's not the 1st of April.
April Fool's Day, of course, is a legendarily terrifying holiday for journalists, especially clickbait-chasing journalists. We're like, wow, I can't believe that happened. Oh my God, what a great cancel culture story.
Right.
This is made up.
Right. Well, we're very careful with the coverage today, but it is still so good that you might think some of these stories are a creation of a prank holiday.
Sure.
So let's get into it. Up first, we start in the Middle East where things are not quite so funny. In Israel, where pressure against the Israeli prime minister is mounting, thousands of protesters gathered in Jerusalem Sunday, standing outside parliament demanding the removal of Benjamin Netanyahu, calling for new elections.
Holy shit.
This follows Saturday's protests in Tel Aviv and a separate anti-government protest. Many Israelis believe that Netanyahu is putting his political survival ahead of the nation and the hostages. Last night, before going under for a hernia operation, Netanyahu held a press conference in response to say that new elections would only benefit Hamas.
In addition, from harsher words from the U.S., Germany also wading into the war of words and switching tones. German chancellor visiting Israel last week and asking Netanyahu publicly, how can the goals of the war justify such terribly high costs? Supporting Israel as a historic duty in Germany because of the Holocaust, so even murmurs of questioning that support is quite significant. And of course, as millions of Christians celebrated Easter over the weekend, Pope Francis called for ceasefire as he presided over Easter Mass on Sunday. Now, in his address before thousands of worshipers, the Pope said, quote, I appeal once again that access to humanitarian aid be ensured to Gaza and call once more for the prompt release of the hostages seized on last October 7th and for an immediate ceasefire in the Strip. Pope Francis's plea comes as Politico preliminary stages of planning such an operation to help stabilize post-war Gaza, including a multinational.
About that time. I don't know.
Or Palestinian peacekeeping force, the plan would not include U.S. troops on the ground, apparently.
Meanwhile, a 14-day siege of Al-Shifa hospital ended this weekend as the Israeli military withdrew, leaving what was Gaza's largest medical facility destroyed, with at least 300 bodies found dead so far among the ruins. CNN reports that the exact death count is hard to ascertain because Israeli troops buried bodies inside the facility and bulldozed nearby roads. The journalists working with CNN described Al-Shifa as a, quote, horror movie featuring bodies crushed by bulldozers and entire families dead and
Fuck.
survivors are malnourished, with some reporting that 6 people shared 1 bottle of water a day. And survivors reported to CNN that the Israeli military appeared to fire at hospital buildings, windows, and at anyone who was caught moving between the hallways. 3,000 people were sheltering at Al-Shifa at the time. Recall that prior to the Al-Shifa raid back on November 15th, the IDF claimed the hospital was the basis of a Hamas command center. A subsequent investigation by the Washington Post, published on December 21st, concluded that, quote, the evidence presented by the Israeli government falls short of showing that Hamas had been using the hospital as a command and control center. So there is a lot of news there. Obviously, with Easter and the Pope's call for a ceasefire, there was a lot of back and forth discourse about the validity or appropriateness of using the holiday to push for a ceasefire, whether or not that's in fact very much in line with the spirit of Christian teachings, Jesus' teachings, or whether or not it was sacrilegious to be, quote-unquote, injecting politics into the holiday. But what is, I think, pretty clear is that there's a lot of pushback, both here in the United States because of humanitarian concerns, and in Israel in part because of these more political concerns. Especially interesting, I think, is the pushback that you're seeing from the family members of Israeli hostages who don't see Benjamin Netanyahu as working in line with their own interest in getting their family members returned.
Yes, he seems to be in significant political trouble. I think pulled in many different directions. I mean, with even very obviously this disaster
Is it like him like holding it back
under his watch, following his strategy of almost implicitly encouraging Hamas, supporting it as a delegitimizing force for Palestinians to have their own country. Hamas being the even more radical choice of them, thinking that would make it less likely for them to get their political goals met. That whole strategy seems to have obviously blown up in Netanyahu's face, and he was facing legal issues that had nothing to do with, or very little to do with, the Gaza situation. Obviously, even before October 7th, had fallen from power and returned to power again. So I think it is an open question how well he is able to hold on at this point.
Yeah, I think
I think it's also an open question whether different leadership would in fact pursue different policies in Gaza. It is not at all clear to me that there is a significant will in Israel to do otherwise, or to end the war effort until Hamas is utterly and totally destroyed. So I'm not sure there would be much of a difference if someone else came into power.
Yeah, it is important to note that the protests in Israel are not in line with the humanitarian protests that we're seeing across the world. They're much more pointedly frustrated with Netanyahu's leadership, again, bound up in large part with how the hostages are being treated. Polls of Israeli citizenship that they are overwhelmingly in support of the siege, like overwhelmingly, over 90% in support of how much force and the kind of force that has been being used in the Gaza Strip. However, this question of what is going on with the hostages, I think, is really being thrown into sharp relief. Remember, there was the incident at the end of last year where 3 hostages were shot by IDF troops. I think that was in some way a turning point as hostages are released and speak to the press about how they were concerned about being killed by IDF bombs while they were in captivity by Hamas. I think that also shines a light on whether or not they are being protected and whether or not the priority of the Israeli government has been hostages. And then just over the weekend, Christiane Amanpour at CNN interviewed a family member of a hostage who said that Israel threatens families to go along with the government line, or else that their family member will be moved down the priority list in terms of who gets recovered in these exchange negotiations. So I think it's important to understand that that sort of narrative is really driving discontent within Israel, as opposed to a belief that the bombing needs to stop, the siege should stop, etc. Even though, as we can see from a number of hugely widely attended protests over the weekend all across the world, including in the United States, there is a growing humanitarian interest in ending the kind of devastation that we saw coming out of Al-Shifa Hospital and more broadly. I mean, the images that you see in the wake of that 2-week siege are really devastating. The bodies have been there for some time, decomposing in some instances to a skeletal state. Survivors talking about entire families buried alive, decomposing alive in this hospital complex where thousands of people had been sheltering prior to the siege, because these hospitals are some of the only remaining standing buildings. I mean, no longer, obviously, in the few resources, medical resources that still exist in the area could be found there. And now this one, which was again the largest hospital complex in Gaza, has now been reduced to basically ruins, a shell of itself, and the human loss is still being tallied.
Yes, obviously frustration now with the German government weighing in as well. This is in addition, obviously, to President Biden less so, but other members like Chuck Schumer, Kamala Harris, indicating in very carefully calculated language support for a ceasefire of some duration, not of a endless duration, because it is still should go in line with Israel, and there's not enough of a will to contradict Israel on that. But clearly, some desire to appease the protesters in the U.S. context, that part of Joe Biden's own electorate, his own supporters, who are dissatisfied with that attack.
Yeah, the local question of this can merit a whole other segment. There has been some frustration, I think, even among good liberals, not just leftists, that there is very clear messaging coming out of the Biden administration, reaching out to Haley supporters and other kind of conservative moderates, more so than there has been any real shift in trying to speak to the frustrations that are...
That is tangible, right? You're not just saying that's like a
rhetorical ads
by the Biden campaign saying, hey, Trump has said to you, Haley voters, we don't want you, you're dead to us, you have a home in the Democratic Party.
Yes, and what's the message exactly to Michigan voters other than there has been this creep on the ceasefire rhetoric? I think it's pretty broadly understood to be rhetoric and not an actual shift in policy position. We've seen Congress just prohibit aid to UNRWA through 2015 at the same time that it's sending more aid to Israel without any red lines being drawn to condition aid on the humanitarian behavior of Israel. The ICJ just issued another report, basically doubling down on its initial January instructions for Israel to be in line with the humanitarian rules of conflict, basically kind of indicting them for not having followed through with their instructions the first time around. So with the Pope and everything, it really does feel like the international community is of one mind about this. I think compelled by what we're seeing coming out of Gaza, and yet the United States hasn't politically shifted in any meaningful way, except for perhaps trying to shore up its base with Nikki Haley voters, perhaps giving up on the idea that there is any way to appease voters in Michigan and around the country who are deeply disturbed by our own government behavior.
Well, we'll have more right.
My yoke broke. My yoke.
Oh no, no, no. Oh my goodness, look at this.
The world's most popular crypto card? Bonus Card Rewards. Powered by Dosh. Up to additional 10% rewards at over 10,000 merchants, including Adidas, Costco, H&M, Office Depot, Sam's Club, Shake Shack, and many more. No enrollment is required. Automatically receive the bonus card rewards. Countless opportunities for you to earn. Power up your earnings now with the Crypto.com Visa card.
Yes. Thank you. That's a big help.
These are just fast. Stop.
This is such a key point, isn't it? The idea of where does your sense of self come from? Have you spent time on that? Do you know who you are? Because here's the thing, a lot of us do this in adulthood because of conflicts or whatever. We end up there because we realize that that's going to help us. But it completely stands to reason that if you do this at a young age and you enter adulthood as much as possible with that strong sense of self, you know who you are, you're probably going to be much more aware when boundaries get crossed, when things like, well, this is who I am, because you know who you are. How can people who don't know who they are, and I recognize that if you've been in a narcissistic relationship for many years, you forget who you are. How does one go about finding that sense of self, discovering who they are?
I mean, it's a lifelong process. It's not like I'm going to do that this month and I'll have it sorted, right? I always think of it as an archaeological dig. You know how you see people in the dinosaur movies and they got those tiny little brushes and they're brushing away all this stuff to kind of look. There's a tooth, there's a bone. In some ways, it is an archaeological dig. Like we're digging through these layers of ourselves, and part of this is mindful awareness. It can be bringing in practices like meditation and mindfulness, which can really help a person engage in sort of the process of non-judgment, because judgment is what stops people from this process. Like, this is ridiculous. I want to be an artist. I gotta shut that down. That judgment is what doesn't. Just because you love art doesn't necessarily even mean that's going to be your career. But to acknowledge how that creative pursuit may be a part of who you are, to really have those hard sort of explorations within yourself of like, do I want to be a parent? Like, where do I want to live? It's creating time in your life where you have those conversations within yourself. Therapy can be a very useful tool here. If you're working, again, unfortunately, therapy is sort of two different things, right? It's not unfortunate. Therapy is two different things. There's therapy that is designed to address an acute mental health crisis, like person's depressed, severely anxious, managing addiction, any number of things. And it's almost a medical model. But there's sort of a second stream of therapy, maybe a more privileged form of therapy, if you will, where one is doing that kind of self-exploration of talking about those sort of things that almost feel, I don't even have a right to explore this, but exploring it with somebody who's able to, in a skilled way, help them also understand the barriers to that expression of the true self, right? So I think therapy can be a useful place for that, but a lot of people don't have the funds to do that, so I very much understand that. But it can be journaling. It can be honestly, in some cases with healing from narcissistic relationships, 3-4 times a day, tell people just put a notification on your phone and touch in with yourself. How do I feel now? Am I cold? Am I hungry? That might seem silly to you, but it's actually not. Because if you've been in unhealthy, controlled spaces for too long, someone else told you if you were hungry or hot or tired. They did. They're like, you're not tired.
You're the first person that I've ever known that can just say, yeah.
So it's giving yourself even an opportunity to tune into your own physiology. How does my body feel right now?
Like most people I know, like especially
like where do I feel things in my body right now? Those kinds of like body and mind awareness.
Because he'll just eat.
Things we can build.
And he'll get like super sick.
Connect with our body, and
I'm like, well, why did you eat till you're throwing up? Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like,
am I? And it's giving permission to
dog, like this, like fucking doesn't understand and stop.
I'm a deeply introverted person. Even though you and I have been talking here for hours and I've loved it, right? It is not my, you're not going to throw me into parties and social gatherings, but for years I have been fighting that nature in me because young people
I put a tiny little bit of spread on whatever I'm putting on my nose and throw a little bit to that. What's the wrong that thing?
No, actually, I'm not a party pooper. I'm an introverted person.
Well, I prefer to be
in my own head and read, and that's why.
And here you feel fat boy with a buzz cut.
Small groups, and if I do go to a large event,
and apparently he used to eat a bag of popcorn every day.
Allowed me
I was just kind of like, what kind of fucking mother gives their kid a bag of popcorn every day? That's fucking gross.
Why don't you have that shape?
What?
Why don't you have that shape?
His mother's the equivalent of a troll. Like a backyard troll. It's fucking gross. No, my favorite was she came up with a bunch of lies where like she said she called my house and I answered and I said that Fear wasn't there. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't say that. It took years for him to be like, oh yeah, I now understand. It's very possible. What? What's that?
Here's a happy dog out of Berger Bleu.
What? Oh god. Oh, the one that got surgery.
I see.
That didn't take long. I saw the post this morning. What's up, mister? What's up, Bobby? Okay. I love you.
I love you. Our brain is shutting down.
Oh fuck! You should have seen me at the grocery store. I was like, at every aisle I stood there. I was like, why? What am I looking for?
You called me. I think it's lettuce tomato. You're like, yeah, it is. It's the main thing.
It's the plugs that fuck me up. So I need fucking tampons.
Oh.
But like, I went to the dollar store and
That's
did.
what plug is?
Yeah.
Learning and using ChatGPT the right way could double your
frustration towards you, sir.
Your self-loathing. Your debt. Okay, what's this one? Two seconds. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, baby.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do when you're not here? I'm gonna do what you do in the middle of the living room. To be like, not the same.
Yeah, but at least I'm gonna bring the dope.
It's true, and I can go around the block and just be like, I'm gonna sit here. Do
I don't know how we're gonna manage to do that. You know, one's gonna bring the truck, drop me all the tools I need. And like, when I'm done, I call him back. Job's already done, man.
I was gonna say, are you nervous? You seem a little bit nervous. Good.
Look at my secret list. It's pretty list.
I think it's less of you proving to Dean right now, and it's gonna be you proving to his new, your new boss.
It's,
Yeah, because I think Dean already loves you. Like,
yeah.
I really want to send Phil an email, be like, this is probably going to be the only correspondence that you and I ever have again. And I would totally accept that, and it's just, I'm fucking away from money, but like, you and Kilo will never fucking complain. You guys never fucking will be like, oh, I did not get paid for work. And apparently he's supposed to be a pretty stand-up guy. Wow. Seems kind of like a pussy to me. Part of the brotherhood forever, right? I love this heater. You have no idea. My heater, my chair, my favorite thing in the world.
Your face worth $100. I love the heater.
Like, and it's like fucking super warm out. I have the door open and I'm like in front of the heater. I'm like, yeah. This doesn't make sense. I'm just racking up bills.
Yeah, whatever.
I didn't leave it on for very long. Just
like I say, it's not really making a difference on like the bill. I'm still like pay it. So like 15 minutes less of heating. It's not gonna make a difference as I go.
Well, I noticed you were doing
that, huh?
Yeah. I noticed you were doing it the other day too, where you. It's like once you get in front of the heater and you're like, oh yes, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I need to get up and do something, but I'm having a really hard time standing up right now. That is my discomfort. That's where my comfort level starts to really peak, when my temperature is too cold. What are you thinking about?
Huh?
What are you thinking about?
I'm about to run out of paper.
I was gonna grab the fucking pack that I saw Tuesday.
My brain is not capable of thinking of anything complex right now.
You still have small ones?
Raw.
Because I find the small ones work so much easier.
Were they more than one pack?
No, I don't think I grabbed that one pack.
Yeah,
There's Thomas in the one.
No, it's
Oh. You sound so depressed about it. Let's go. Take 'em all. Take a beam, Mom. He's got the cool face, Mr. Mugu. You're so cute. Sometimes I can't even handle it. Oh, you close, Daddy. Hey, Mister. Okay.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
One more after this.
Oh. Wait, the hockey game must be over.
Unless there's
Overtime,
yeah.
which almost definitely not.
Right.
Anybody who goes to the hockey game at this point got tickets for free.
He was fantastic. He's not been the same player in the last 3 games. I think he needs a bit of a rest.
Good. The after game.
Do we have our channel for this?
Yes, we do. TSFN.
TSN.
Same difference.
But yeah, TSN is friends,
I don't even watch sports. I don't even fucking like sports channels at all. Because I play sports. I don't watch sports.
That's it.
And it seems like the people who like are the most like invested in sports are people who like, I'm like, I would love to see you play that sport. I doubt you ever even did, but whatever. What's my Bowie? Oh, Jack. What's the matter?
Mr. Blazy. Salut, Mr. Blazy.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So Sally. Chinese people, they can say there are. Sally, I'm so lazy.
It's like Kilala in the Japanese version. They call her Kirara. Oh my god! But that's like native people. or not Native people. The Mohawk language. Kanigeha. Or
Yeah, the K's are G's.
and the T's are D's. Mm. Oh God. Mm. Oh.
I had a good time with Justin and Jesse.
Yeah. Only realizing that now? Right?
No, but I'm now I'm enjoying the thought of it. Boo! You want boo? Because mommy's eating, and you're like, hey, come here. Hey. Come here. Hey.
Matter, boo. Ah, my hands are itchy. Oh. Okay, hold on, that one's different. I knew you wanted to go outside, baby. Actually, no.
What's up, Nick?
Go pee? Come. Go pee? Okay, or food? Okay. Eat your food.
That's when he drinks a few times in it. He actually drinks a lot of water when he drinks. Notice that.
Yeah, he usually does like about almost like a cup sometimes.
Hey.
Why? How you did it?
Holy shit.
Woo.
Holy shit, son. Son.
Oh, that's a Christmas song. Oh, I see.
Leave it over there.
What? Oh.
This year I'm getting a base.
Yeah! I would have fucking went and started looking for one for you myself to like something like a bass you want to actually pick one that feels good. Because that's like my guitars. The necks are always way too big for my fingers. I need like a little kid guitar. Cold chip. Another cold chip. God damn it. What? Matter?
That's it. You know what? I'm going to be 7 years old. You might not be there anymore.
Where's his girlfriend? Oh,
I'm not going to be able to do this.
I think it was his girlfriend.
No, I think he wants some here. Don't eat them. Don't eat it.
No? Jacko, eat your food. What's the cooking? Okay, I lied. Don't listen to me.
No, you just put the Caesar, you don't have the beef.
Sometimes his teeth hurt too much for him to actually chew. That's it. Oh.
The drone
Scared the fuck out of
stage
myself.
has begun in the large-scale military.
What? You. What's up? That's so cute.
The Australian Government, here to announce our latest plan to take a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The car industry is currently undergoing an epoch-defining revolution from the combustion engine to electric vehicles, EVs. This presents a unique chance to rebuild our manufacturing industry, upskill our workforce, improve our air quality, whilst tackling the climate crisis and advancing human civilization. Of course, on realizing this, we said, let's instead orchestrate a field campaign about EVs so we can score points off Labour. Remember how we told you their EV policy would end the weekend because EVs can't tow your boat? Well, here's an EV towing a boat, and here's one beating a race car, whilst towing another car. Here's one towing a train, and here's another one towing a fucking jetliner. Look how our bullshit helped us win the last election, and that's why we're now ready to unveil our own EV policy. Introducing the Future Fuel Strategy, or FFS for short. And no, that's not satire. It's what we really called it. Checkmate, honest government and shitheads. Does our EV policy include incentives to help you afford an EV? No, that would make us like governments that actually encourage EVs, like Norway, which exempts them from paying taxes, road tolls, and parking fees. That's why EVs now make up 75% of new car sales there. And other countries with EV incentives are catching up. In Australia, we haven't even reached 1%. A bit like our vaccine rollout. FFS. Does it recommend electrifying our government fleet, like the US government just committed to, and which would kickstart a second-hand market of more affordable EVs? Yes. Are we going to do it? Now, FFS. Does it set a target to phase out sales of new petrol and diesel cars like other countries have by 2030, 35, 2040? No. That's why car companies aren't sending us their best and most affordable EV models or opening factories here to build EVs, like the 30 new models GM has just announced. Which is why when it comes to powering choice, creating jobs and economic growth, Our EV policy will ensure approximately
Fuck off.
fuck all. There are many more reasons why we should be supporting EVs. Let's strengthen our national security by making us less dependent on foreign oil. That saves us shit tons in health costs to treat illnesses linked to car exhaust fumes, such as dementia and mental illness in kids. They're even linked to lower IQ, which might explain why you keep re-electing us. And of course, they're key to tackling the climate crisis, since transport is the third biggest source of emissions in Australia, most of it from cars. But why do all that when instead we can prolong our dependence on oil, make us the dumping ground for the world's dirtiest, least efficient cars, make your kids sicker and dumber, make us the world's biggest fucking losers by failing to embrace a new technology? FFS. The best part of our total lack of leadership on EVs is that it allows other dickheads to come up with dumbass policies. Hello, I'm from the Victorian government. We're about to introduce a tax on EVs. Then, while the rest of the world is scrambling to help people afford their first EV, we're slapping another $5,000 onto their lifetime cost. We're saying we need this tax to pay for roads, since EV drivers won't pay tax on petrol. To which you might say, hey, that's like taxing ex-smokers for no longer paying tax on tobacco. You might also say, the fuel excise hasn't directly funded roads since 1959, and besides, it's a federal tax. To which we say, correct. This is just a grubby cash grab. That's what's most important, and that's what must be done. Hurry, we'll be voting on the EV tax soon, so unless you contact your local MP to stop this bullshit, we'll become the first government in the world to make it harder to afford an EV. Victorian government and Australian government, we stop these. Authorised by the Department for Taxing Clean Air.
Oh, I saw there somewhere.
You good? Good job, mister. Good job, mister.
Good boy, Mr. Magoo.
Ate all the Caesar and some of his meat. Because I sat down here and fucking fed him tank dog.
Yeah, good boy, Jack Mom. What did I do that, you?
You would be able to eat your sandwich nice and quiet, that's for sure. Isn't that amazing right now? You eat those.
Wonder why it takes me like an hour?
It's like not even staring at you. Isn't that great?
John was gonna give me a Mountain Dew and the weed drinks. I was like, I don't really like Mountain Dew though. It's like the epitome of kids' sugar drinks. Like ginger ale.
Yeah, that's the thing though. If I'm going to have the choice for a drink at any point on, I would choose ginger ale.
Mm.
Like if I pay for it or anything like that. But I like Sprite. Because even flat Sprite is good. It tastes like lemon and sugary water. Gemster.
What was that?
Ruby.
The side open?
Ruby. Rubina. You're molested by a raccoon.
I thought you were gonna say by the squirrels.
He's sleeping.
What?
The squirrel is sleeping.
Oh, good.
How you should people should charge people for this.
Not you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's wrong with you right now.
Oh, but who was that chick? What's her name? She goes to buy weed at Sherry's sometimes.
Wow, you actually know somebody who does that?
What?
You actually know somebody who does that?
Yeah. What she does is let's say that the people from other country wants to walk downtown Montreal. Well, if she goes downtown Montreal, and then they can tell her, okay, well, go left, go right, shit like that. So she's actually there, and then we can interact, and then they pay money. And then, Are you sure you're not doing anything like weird? It's like, no, I don't show any kind of part that is sexual or anything.
That's even more concerning.
And and then you make money. That's weird. Was way before OnlyFans and all those shit came out. Like, so people pay you to have you as an avatar. And tell. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. No one's paying for this. Come on now.
What?
Only you're paying for this.
What?
No one's gonna be paying for this. I'm like,
Yeah, okay.
the only one who's paying for that shit is you. No? Huh?
It's like,
Oh yeah, that's stuff on the counter for the bun bun.
where do I put it?
Wherever you want.
Throw it in the yard?
It's not in the butt.
Scared or anything?
I do that all the time. I come up the stairs and I like run into bed. Oh. What? What's that? Oh, look at that. You just sat your ass down. Fantastic.
Yeah, why would you?
Sometimes it's fucking fuss. Wanna see fuss? You like see fuss. Bruh.
You know this?
Yes, please. Thank you. I like that. Why did you get so polite?
Polite?
Me. So you said to me this morning.
Yeah. What like so.
Oh, it's a burp so bad. Oh, there we go. Lovely. I like being perfect in unison. Whiskey. We thought.
You have a dog.
This is a happy dog.
Well, if that would be him, I would be happy. You and your girls' friends close?
What? Oh. You're so sweet. Such a good boyfriend. Hmm? Hmm? Hmm. Huh? Huh? A little bit. I was gonna try to fucking. I don't know how to make the screen fit, and if I duplicate, usually it's the other way around. Usually, it's if you duplicate it, it doesn't have enough gigs of RAM. But now, if I duplicate it,
Is that what it is?
yeah, it's this.
How big's the route upstairs?
I mean, if you want to put it in this thing, go ahead. Good luck. Fucking thing's gonna catch fire. Yep. My favorite kind of friends and friends that go home. Because they also know me long enough that if I'm gonna get that angry, it's like literally noticeable to everybody. I'm gonna go to nothing. Okay. Like, about to give up on this fucking stupid shit. And now you just keep playing fucking ads. So, we're gonna go to your bath instead. Okay. Okay. Now you're doing it. Yeah. Oh, you're doing it intentionally? You're what? What the? Oh my god, you're funny. The retard.
These hands.
Finger knees.
Finger knees.
I think we're speaking telepathically. I think we are.
Fucking yelling.
Oh. I was afraid it was a fart.
Huh?
Because I had to fart. Whenever I'm like sitting on something that's too cushiony when I have to fart. Well, sometimes I'm afraid I'm gonna poop.